Sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't buried in a remote jungle or a forgotten tomb. They're waiting just beneath the surface, hidden in plain sight. Imagine being a student archaeologist. You're diving in the murky waters of North Carolina's Brunswick River. The visibility is terrible. You can barely see your hand in front of your face. You're exploring the remains of an old colonial wharf near a historic site, a place called Brunswick Town. It's a routine dive, part of your university program. You're not expecting to find anything that will rewrite history. But then, your hand brushes against something solid in the mud. It feels like wood. Old wood. This is exactly what happened to a team of sharp-eyed students from East Carolina University. They were on a mission, but not one for gold or jewels. They were mapping the riverbed, learning the ropes of underwater archaeology. The conditions were tough, a swirling soup of silt and river debris. Yet, through sheer persistence, they uncovered something extraordinary. They found large, heavy timbers, shaped by human hands centuries ago. These weren't just random logs, they were the structural bones of a ship, a vessel that had met a violent end. The students knew immediately that this was something special, a tangible link to a dramatic past that had been silent for almost 300 years. The excitement on the surface must have been electric. Each piece of wood brought up from the riverbed was a clue. It was a piece of a story that had been lost to time, swallowed by the river. The team worked carefully, documenting every find. This wasn't just a class project anymore, it had become a real-life expedition. They were touching history, feeling the same wood that Spanish sailors once stood on. The discovery transformed a quiet corner of North Carolina into a major archaeological site. It was a reminder that adventure can be found anywhere, even in the muddy waters of a familiar river, waiting for someone with enough curiosity to look closer. Think about that moment of discovery, the thrill of knowing you found something no one has seen in centuries. It's what drives every explorer. These students weren't just learning about history from a book, they were holding it in their hands. They were the ones pulling the story of a long-lost ship from its watery grave. This find, at an abandoned wharf, proves that incredible stories are all around us. You just have to be willing to get your hands dirty, to brave the murky water, and to search for the secrets that lie beneath. It's a perfect example of how the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. So, what exactly did these students find? The evidence points to a very specific ship with a very dramatic story. Archaeologists believe these timbers belong to the Spanish privateer ship La Fortuna. This wasn't just any vessel, it was part of a fleet that attacked the coast of North Carolina in 1748. Picture this, a formidable Spanish ship, armed with cannons, sailing with hostile intent toward the bustling colonial port of Brunswick Town. La Fortuna was a key player in an international conflict that spilled over into the American colonies. It represented a real and present danger to the people living there, a symbol of a brutal chapter in the town's history. The story of La Fortuna is a tale of ambition and sudden disaster. In September 1748, two Spanish ships launched a surprise attack on Brunswick Town, a thriving port at the time. The Spanish forces managed to capture the town, looting homes and businesses. For a few days it seemed like their raid was a complete success, but the colonists weren't going to give up without a fight. They rallied their own forces for a counterattack. As the battle raged, a stroke of luck, or perhaps misfortune for the Spanish, changed everything. One of the Spanish ships, believed to be La Fortuna, suddenly and mysteriously exploded in the middle of the river. The explosion was catastrophic. It instantly ended the Spanish invasion and sent La Fortuna to the bottom of the Brunswick River. The blast was so powerful that it sealed the ship's fate, preserving it in the riverbed's mud and silt for future generations to find. The ship went from being a feared attacker to a sunken relic in a matter of seconds. For nearly 300 years it rested there in silence, its story known only from historical records. It became a ghost ship, a local legend whispered about but never seen. Its location was a mystery, a puzzle waiting for the right team of explorers to come along and solve it. This history is what makes the discovery so electrifying. The students didn't just find an old boat, they found the physical remains of a pivotal moment in North Carolina's history. They found the ghost of La Fortuna. The timbers they recovered are direct evidence of this violent naval encounter. Every piece connects back to that fateful day in 1748 when the Spanish attack was cut short by a fiery explosion. The ship is a time capsule from the colonial era, a silent witness to a battle that shaped the destiny of Brunswick Town and its people. This find breathes life into the historical accounts, turning a dramatic story into a tangible reality. Finding a shipwreck is one thing. Proving what it is? That's the real challenge. The evidence for this being La Fortuna is incredibly compelling. It all started years ago, before the timbers were even found. Back in the 1980s, archaeologists recovered a Spanish cannon from the exact same area. This wasn't just any cannon, it was dated to the correct period and matched the type of armament used on Spanish privateer ships. This cannon was the first major clue, a breadcrumb leading researchers to believe a Spanish vessel lay hidden nearby. It was a tantalizing piece of the puzzle, but the ship itself remained elusive for decades. Now, fast forward to the recent discovery by the East Carolina University students. The wooden timbers they found have been carefully analyzed. Experts examined the type of wood and the way the ship was built. Their findings? The wood is live oak, a material commonly used by Spanish shipbuilders in the 18th century. Even more telling is the construction style. The techniques used to join the timbers and the overall design are distinctly Spanish. When you put the timbers together with the previously discovered cannon, the picture becomes much clearer. The pieces of the puzzle start to fit perfectly, pointing directly to a Spanish origin. The story of the Spanish attack on Brunswick Town in 1748 confirms the ship's identity. Historical documents tell us that the Spanish flagship exploded and sank during the battle. They even mention that the victorious colonists later tried to salvage items from the wreck, including some of its cannons. The location of the wreck, right off the shore of historic Brunswick Town, aligns perfectly with these accounts. It's exactly where you would expect to find the remains of a ship that blew up while attacking the port. The physical evidence from the river and the written evidence from the history books tell the same dramatic story. This convergence of evidence is what makes archaeology so exciting. It's like being a detective investigating a very cold case. You have the historical accounts, which are like witness statements. You have the cannon, which is like the murder weapon. And now with the ship's timbers, you have the body itself. Each new discovery strengthens the case. The students' find wasn't just a lucky break, it was the result of years of research and patient investigation. They have successfully connected the dots between a historical event and a physical site, giving us a clearer picture of La Fortuna's final fiery moments. Discovering a wreck like La Fortuna is a monumental achievement, but it's also the beginning of a new race against time. This incredible piece of history is in constant danger. The Brunswick River is a dynamic environment. The currents are strong, and the riverbed is constantly shifting. Erosion is a major threat, slowly washing away the silt and mud that have protected the ship's timbers for centuries. As the wood becomes exposed to the open water, it begins to decay much more rapidly. Every storm that passes through North Carolina, especially powerful hurricanes, could potentially damage the site further, scattering the pieces of this historical puzzle forever. The importance of this find goes far beyond just one ship. La Fortuna is a window into the past. It teaches us about the complex world of the American colonies. It shows us that colonial ports like Brunswick Town were not isolated outposts, but were deeply connected to global conflicts. The wreck provides invaluable information about 18th century Spanish shipbuilding, naval warfare, and the daily lives of the sailors on board. By studying the ship and any artifacts found with it, we can learn what they ate, what tools they used, and how they fought. It's a tangible link to a world that we can usually only read about in books. This is why protecting these underwater archaeological sites is so critical. They are irreplaceable libraries of human history. Once they are gone for good. The work being done by the North Carolina Office of State Archaeology and university partners is essential. They are carefully documenting the site, recovering vulnerable artifacts and developing plans to preserve what remains. Their efforts ensure that the story of La Fortuna won't be lost to erosion or a future hurricane. It's a mission to safeguard our shared heritage for future generations so they too can learn from these amazing underwater time capsules. Ultimately, the story of La Fortuna is a powerful reminder of why we explore. We search for lost tombs, forgotten cities, and sunken ships because they connect us to the people who came before us. They make history feel real and personal. The students who found these timbers didn't just uncover old wood, they resurrected a story of conflict, survival, and a pivotal moment in American history. Protecting shipwrecks like La Fortuna is about more than just saving old relics. It's about preserving the incredible human stories that they hold within their waterlogged frames, ensuring they can continue to teach and inspire us for centuries to come.